Was the Weezer Seasons project a success? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel, and welcome to both my rock album review for Weezer Seasons Winter, but also my full assessment and recap and review of the entire Seasons project. Before we get to it, guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button for us here on the Rock Squad channel. If you love to rock as much as we do, you'll want to hit that subscribe button because we talk about everything. New rock releases, rock albums ranked, we talk about rock commentary, all the latest rock news, and much, much more. So if you love to rock like we do, hit that subscribe button. All right, so before we get to the entire recap and assessment of the Seasons project, we're finally here, guys. Today is December 21st, the official first day of winter and the release day for Weezer's Seasons Winter, the final EP in the Seasons project. And we knew going into 2022 that Weezer had intentions of releasing an EP around each season, and they delivered. We're here. The fourth and final EP came out today, and I just wanted to give you my quick thoughts on Seasons Winter before we get to the rest of the Seasons project. And I have to say, it's another solid EP, although the entire, spoiler alert, the entire project has been a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I think this was another solid release in the Weezer Seasons catalog and their entire catalog in general. I think for a lot of old school Weezer fans are really going to enjoy this EP because it does harken back a little bit more to the classic Weezer Blue Album Pinkerton era sound, which is what a lot of old school Weezer fans are going for. I'm not one of those guys. I love the Blue Album kind of stuff. I love the new school Weezer sound. But this album definitely does go back to more of that old school Blue Album sound with songs like Iambic Pentameter and the one that got away, and Basketball and Sheraton Commander. These definitely sound like old school Weezer songs. So I think for old school Weezer fans who like that sound, this is definitely going to be a hit for them. There are some new school sounds on here as well. I think overall the Seasons project features more of that new school 21st century Weezer sound than the 90s sound, but I enjoy both of them. I think maybe one of my criticisms of both Winter and the entire Seasons project, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit, is that the songs on these releases don't really match the season. Maybe I'm just looking for more of I heard that this was going to have more of an acoustic Elliott Smith kind of vibe. I definitely feel like we got that on songs like I Want a Dog and some of the other ones, but overall I didn't get a winter vibe from this thing. I just got a regular Weezer vibe for that, and that's a little bit of a criticism that we'll get to in just a little bit. But there are some other songs that I really enjoyed on Seasons Winter. I Want a Dog, Deep and Dreamless Sleep was really, really cool as well. And just like I was saying, same as the other EPs, although they don't really reflect the seasons as much as I hope they would, it's a solid release. And you know what? It's just Weezer. And I was really happy to see that they finally delivered on this promise for four EPs based around the seasons in 2022. So they delivered it, and I think that Seasons Winter is another solid release for Weezer in general, and another solid just cap off for the Seasons project altogether. Yes, Seasons Winter is another solid release, especially for old school Weezer fans. I think online people are really going to be singing his praises, especially for some of those Blue Album and Pinkerton era sounds. But let's talk about the entire Seasons project in general. Now, coming off of 2021, we had another very busy year for Weezer after already a very prolific decade for the band. They have not let up in 10, 15 years from releasing music on a consistent basis. In 2021, we got OK Human, which was a really critically acclaimed and fan-loved album from Weezer. This late in their career, you don't really get that, but OK Human was a really solid release for them. And then they released Van Weezer, which was their big arena rock album, which is the album that I really enjoyed, and I thought that was another solid release from Weezer. So coming into this Seasons, we knew that we were going to get more music from Weezer, and we knew they were going to base these songs around each of the seasons of the year. And I think it was a mixed bag for me overall. I think, like I was saying, there are some good songs on there. There are some songs that are so-so for me, but I think in general we have to look at Seasons Winter in a couple of different lights, and that would I would say concept, execution, theme, and vibe and sound. All right, so what am I talking about when I say concept? Well, I think Weezer's Seasons, the overall project, was very successful in its concept. Now, a lot of bands have done concept albums in the past, but as far as I know, and you can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, this is the first time that this band has done a concept album or 4 concept EPs around the seasons of the year. And I think overall in concept, this was a very solid release. I really enjoyed the album covers for the Seasons project, how they all had the same general image, but then changed the vibe and look of the album album covers with the changing of each seasons. You had Seasons Spring, which had a very green and obviously growth, spring-related flowers kind of vibe, and then Seasons Summer had the entire forest on fire. Seasons Autumn had a gray kind of vibe to it, which is to be expected, and then Seasons Winter, the entire thing's just covered in snow, which is also to be expected. But I do think that the album covers really helped in solidifying this as one project, and I really felt like it created this cohesive vibe to the entire project and concept that I really enjoyed. And then when you think about it from a music marketing and strategy point of view, this was really great on Weezer's part, because it's something they've never done before, and they've managed to keep Weezer fans like me on the drip for the entire year. Like, I was really actively looking forward to each of these releases, knowing that they were going to be coming out on the first day of each season, and they just delivered on that front. And so as a fan myself, I was really, really excited to know that there was a new EP coming for every season. It was something that really, really got me through the year, and something that I enjoyed a lot. So in terms of the marketing and strategy, they kept Weezer fans, and hopefully some non-fans, on the drip throughout the year. They kept us engaged. They kept us excited for this new material coming from the band, and for that, I think that was very, very strong as a marketing strategy for Weezer and Seasons. So in concept, Seasons was a definite success. Another way that the Seasons project was a success was in execution. You know, a lot of bands out there, and I'm not pointing any fingers, Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins, tend to overpromise when it comes to these concept albums. The Smashing Pumpkins in particular, that's just an example that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Smashing Pumpkins in particular had Tear Garden by Kaleidoscope, which was this multi-part project that got abandoned about, three quarters of the way through, and then they had the Shiny So Bright album, which was volume 1, and we still haven't seen volume 2, and they've already moved on to another multi-album, multi-song project with the autumn releases. But a lot of bands tend to overpromise when it comes to these big concept albums and then don't really deliver. And I think that tends to come with them promising the albums coming up before they actually record them. They'll record maybe one album's worth of songs and then abandon the project. But Weezer, with Seasons, actually delivered on their promise. We knew going into 2022 that this was coming. They had rumored it long throughout 2021. We knew that Seasons was on the way, and Weezer delivered. They promised that a new EP was going to come out on the first day of each season, and they did it. It came out on each first day of each season, and we got the new albums. And it was crazy to think that they were probably under some really tight deadlines. I know for a fact that they didn't go into this with all the songs already recorded, that they recorded it along the way, which is a dangerous prospect when you're a band, even when you're firing on all cylinders like Weezer, to think that you have to record and mix and put together the album and the marketing and everything for these EPs ahead of time, to think that they did that kind of by the seat of their pants. As far as I know, you can let me know in the comments, but to think they did this by the seat of their pants and were still able to deliver a new EP on each first day of the seasons. Crazy. Execution was amazing. They met their deadlines, and they didn't have to deliver it, but they did, and they made it even better for fans, and it was a super solid experience, and knowing that they succeeded in the execution of the Seasons project. Another way that the Seasons project for Weezer was a success was in theme. I think Rivers did a really great job with the Seasons project of bringing lyrically and thematically all of these different things together, especially with Seasons Spring and Seasons Summer. There were initial tracks, the beginning tracks on those records, Opening Night and Lawn Chair, that really set the stage for this epic thematic concept that Weezer was going to put together with these EPs. Thematically, I think they all run together, obviously the seasons being continuing theme through all 4 records, but lyrically as well, I think he pulled it all together. I think in terms of songwriting, I'm going to mention this in the Sound and Vibe, that in terms of songwriting, these songs, maybe not all of them, were specifically written for the Seasons project. We know that Rivers has a wealth of material in the background that he's just been working on. He's got so many demos and different ideas that he's had over the years that he continues to draw from. We've heard about him putting together Excel sheets of different ideas and different themes. We know that he likes to group songs together, and I think that's what he did with this project, is that he took all of these songs that he had in his back pocket, so to speak, and put them all together, put them into that Excel spreadsheet for Seasons, and put them all under different columns for the songs that would fit thematically with the different seasons that he was putting out. So thematically and lyrically, I think this was a really strong project for Weezer, and I think that was a particular point of success for the Seasons project overall.
Oh, hey everybody, it's Nick here. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to let you know that I just read an interview with Rivers, and I was reminded that each EP, he wanted on each EP to reflect a different emotion, and that's something I didn't mention in my original review, but that is something that he did to continue the thematic elements of what's going on with the Seasons EP, is to reflect a different emotion on each EP, which I thought was really neat. So I just wanted to mention that. So back to our regular scheduled program.
Now, we talked about the things that I thought were successful for the Weezer Seasons project, the concept, the execution, and the themes that are running through these 4 EPs. But I think the one drawback and the one thing I don't think was successful with the Weezer Seasons project is the sound and the vibe. So what do I mean when I say the sound and the vibe of the Seasons project weren't a huge success? I mean that the sound of the songs doesn't really line up with the vibe of what I think traditionally the seasons should be. I know mentioning before with Seasons Winter that ahead of time they were saying that it might have more of a depressing Elliott Smith acoustic-y kind of vibe, and it certainly does on songs like I Want a Dog and Sheridan Commander, but overall this is just a Weezer album. Like I said, it sounds more like the Blue Album in Pinkerton than it does anything else, and that's okay. Totally cool with that because we've got some really, really strong songs on Winter and all the other Seasons EPs, but it doesn't really have a winter kind of feel. Maybe I'm thinking it just sound more like Coldplay or the Parachutes album. Maybe a little more downtrodden, a little bit more depressing. Not that I want music to be more depressing, but it doesn't really sound like a winter album to me. Same with Seasons Autumn, which doesn't sound like a fall album. It sounds like a kind of a dance rock Weezer album in the Reign of Ratitude or something like that. So it doesn't necessarily have that autumn vibe. And then you look at Seasons Summer and Weezer, no stranger to doing summer sunshiny rock with the White Album and the Blue Album and Ratitude and lots of great sunshiny tracks over the years. Seasons Summer wasn't really a sunny album. It was really heavy, and I know that Rivers was saying thematically, lyrically, it's more about a Roman Empire and burning things down than it is about hanging out on a beach, which is totally fine, but it didn't really have a sunshiny kind of vibe. However, Season Spring, I think, was the most successful in terms of its sound and its vibe because it did very much have a sitting in a garden while the flowers grow kind of vibe. The instrumentation on the album, as I mentioned in my Seasons spring review earlier this year, the sound of the album is a little bit more subdued, and it sounds a little bit more organic than some of these other Weezer Seasons EPs that we've gotten. So I would say that Spring overall is the biggest success when it comes to the overall sound and vibe of the album because it sounds like a spring album. But as I mentioned with Rivers, these songs weren't specifically, as far as I know, written for the Seasons project. He had these songs hanging out in his back pocket, and he was looking to slot these songs into these projects based on, I guess, what he was thinking, like we said, lyrically, thematically, conceptually. He was putting them into that regard as opposed to the sonics and the vibe of each EP. Like I said, Season Spring is most successful in that regard, but I think maybe Rivers' Excel spreadsheet approach to this project maybe was a little bit of a detriment to the overall project because I think as it went on, it lost a little bit of focus. So I would say that's my biggest pet peeve for the Weezer Seasons project, is that sonically and in the overall vibe, the EPs and the seasons don't quite match up. So even though the sound and the vibe of all the Seasons EPs didn't quite match up with the Seasons for me, there are a lot of great songs that came from this entire project. Some better than others. I think there are some songs that will reach the pantheon of great Weezer classics, and then some not so much. But if I'm going to call out some individual tracks from the Seasons EPs that I really enjoyed, my favorite track from all the EPs was definitely Records. I listed it on my top 10 rock songs of 2022, which is right here on the channel if you want to check that out. Records for me was definitely the best song from this entire project. It's a great Weezer single. It's a great Weezer song in general. A little bit of Love from Season Spring was really good, as well as Angels on Vacation. Really enjoyed that as well. From Season Summer, along with Records, I like Thank You and Good Night. That's one of my favorite tracks from here. From Seasons Autumn, Can't Dance, Don't Ask Me. That's a great song, as well as What Happens After You, which is a great single. And Francesca, another great song from Seasons Autumn. And then from Seasons Winter, my favorite songs are I Want a Dog. It's been a little bit of a sad year for me in terms of dogs. I won't mention that right here, but it's been a sad year for me, so that song really got to me, as well as Iambic Pentameter and Basketball are my favorite songs from Seasons Winter. So overall, there are some really great songs to come from this project, and overall, I think a lot to enjoy from Seasons by Weezer. And if I was going to rank the 4 Seasons EPs from 1 to 4, I would say my favorite was Season Spring. Like I said, I think it's the one that matches the season the most, and I think it has some really great songs on it. I thought that would probably be my least favorite as the year went on, and I love the other EPs, but I think Season Spring actually ended up being my favorite, as well as Seasons Autumn coming in at number 2. I really enjoyed that. I think overall Seasons Autumn might have the strongest track list from front to back. I think it might be the strongest of the EPs, but Season Spring is definitely my favorite. So Autumn coming in at number 2. Number 3, we'll put Seasons Winter, even though it just came out today. I really enjoy it and can really see myself listening to it quite a bit. And then coming in at number 4 for my rankings would be Seasons Summer, which was the heaviest out of all the EPs, which was enjoyable, but I think maybe had the weakest track list out of the bunch. So those are my rankings for the 4 Seasons EPs by Weezer. And those are my thoughts on Weezer's Seasons Winter, as well as the entire Seasons project. It's been a great year as a Weezer fan to follow along with them as they put out these EPs. It's been a really enjoyable experience, and I'm just excited to see what the band has on tap for us in 2023. I've said it before here on the channel, but it's been an embarrassment of riches for Weezer fans over the last decade, but especially over the last 5 years, I want to say 6 years. We had Pacific Daydream, we had the Black Album, we had the Teal Album, we had OK Human, we had Van Weezer, and then 4 EPs from Weezer this year. So it's been an embarrassment of riches for Weezer fans. As a lifelong diehard Weezer fan, I'm a ride or die, so I'm always going to be along for the ride with Rivers and the boys, and they've really done a good job delivering the Seasons EPs this year. So overall, I think it was a really solid project, and I can't wait to see what Weezer has in store for us in 2023. Although, I wouldn't knock them if they wanted to take a little bit of a vacation, especially after delivering these EPs and still touring and stuff after the pandemic. I can imagine it's really been busy for them. So I wouldn't knock Weezer if they wanted to take a break. But you know what? On to more music in 2023. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of the Weezer Seasons project in the comments below. Let me know what you thought the best of the EPs was. Let me know what your favorite song from the project was, and chat more about Weezer Seasons. You can subscribe to us here at the Rock Squad channel. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to share this video with your friends and fellow Weezer fans. Make sure to follow us on social media on Instagram at Rock Squad Pod and on Twitter as well. And stay tuned for next week, where I finally run down my top 10 rock albums of 2022. What albums made the list? We will find out. But until then, we'll see you guys again for another video here on the Rock Squad channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.